Hello, superficial beings. It's Blair, and in today's video I'm going to be telling you about the time that our former chef, Oumar, tried to poison me. Now before I continue, if you could just subscribe, that would be absolutely amazing. You know what? If you don't subscribe, then I'm quite frankly not going to continue with this video. In fact, the remaining 9 minutes are just going to be me sat here like... Now, Oumar had been working for us for about 4 months before any incidents occurred. You know, he was from Mali, or Somali, or Hot Tamale, I don't know, one of those quaint little African countries. And he actually replaced our former chef, Linda, who at 56 years old fancied a career change, and she now works as a lap dancer in a gentleman's club in Swansea. It just goes to show that men will take anything that they can get, even if it does involve a history of gonorrhea and rheumatoid arthritis. Anyway, yes, so Oumar had been working for us and everything was fine, and then one day he called me and told me that he wasn't going to be able to come in that day because he had a funeral. Apparently his sister died or something stupid like that. And I just found it comical, actually, that he would choose to have the funeral on a day when he was supposed to be working. You know, he only worked 7 days a week. Bearing in mind I was paying him £3.20 an hour. Most of my friends don't even pay their house staff. So as a result, I did what any good employer would do, and I punished him. I lowered his pay to £1.60 an hour. I had a homeless lesbian to put melted Maltesers through the letterbox of his home every day for the rest of his life. And 3 of his family members deported to Siberia. If he ever tried to leave, I would destroy his reputation so that I cursed on him for life, that he would never get a job in catering or interracial porn ever again. Finally, I broke into his home, replaced all his family photos with diagrams of ovarian cysts, and defecated all over his towels. Thankfully, he saw the error and selfishness of his ways, and he apologised to me. Little did I know that he was the love child of Norman Bates, with a penchant for noxious substances, and that he decided he was going to poison me. So, over the next week or so, I started to feel a little bit nauseous. I was suffering from headaches. I wasn't even in the mood for anonymous Craigslist orgies. Not to mention I was sweating like a Catholic priest in a playground. Jesus Christ, to the point where one day I was overseeing Agnieszka, my housekeeper, as she was polishing mine and Lenny's sex toy collection. And she turned to me and she said, "Oh, Miss Blair looked very pale and sweety." And I said, "Who are you calling sweaty?" "Sweaty? It's called dewy, Agnieszka, look it up." Followed by a swift punch to the kidney. Because you absolutely mustn't show any form of weakness in front of the help. And Oumar, throughout this whole period, he was sweet as pie. Couldn't do enough for me, Let me make you this, Mr. Blair, let me do this for you, Mr. Blair. He was practically throwing food at me the entire time. So then, my symptoms started to get even worse. I was having stomach cramps, and I was throwing up quite a lot. And my flatulence began to smell distinctly of onion bagels. And I was this close to calling Dr. Eisenhower until one day I stepped on the scales and I realised that I'd lost an awful lot of weight. And that is when I realised that these symptoms, this illness, was actually a blessing in disguise, because it meant that my goal of reaching the same weight as helium gas was actually a very real possibility. So I soldiered on as any skinny legend would do. Now it all came to a head, or rather a turtle head, when I was presenting an award for outstanding contribution to topiary at the annual Gardening Awards in Banbury. I was wearing this gorgeous white Saint Laurent suit, looking absolutely fire on the outside, but feeling like I wanted to decapitate myself with a pair of garden shears on the inside. So I went up on stage to present the award, and I was, doing my speech, and I caught a whiff of onion bagels. Then I felt this uncontrollable urge to poo. So I very abruptly ended my speech, ran off the stage through the middle of the audience, And it was quite literally that scene from Bridesmaids, you know, where Lillian is trying on the wedding dresses and she runs out of the store and shits herself in the middle of the street. Oh, it's happening. Oh, it happened. Yes, it was very that. And of course, with me being such a public figure, oh, it was a media storm. You know, it actually became such an iconic event in fashion history that the suit that I was wearing, now covered in shit, was actually auctioned off at Sotheby's and sold for a record-breaking £3.4 million. I do believe that the winning bidder was a scat fetishist from Papua New Guinea, who actually only died a few months later and donated the piece to the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City, where it is now a permanent fixture. Thank you. Anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, so after that, Lenny made me call Dr. Eisenhower and have him come over and examine me. So, you know, he came over and he tested my bloods and my temperature and urine, etc. Oh, and not forgetting my gag reflex, which he seems to test every time he comes over, if you know what I mean. I'm talking about his penis, pushing his penis in my... yeah. You got it, yeah. So then the following day he calls and he says, "Blair, I need to see you immediately." And I thought, bloody hell, back for more already? They must be bloody good. So yeah, I told him to pop over whilst Lenny was at work. Yeah, I put on a nice little lingerie set and waited on the bed in the breeding position. So he arrives, not even 5 minutes later, keen, and puts his thermometer in my asshole. Sorry, I couldn't think of a medical euphemism for that one. And midway through, he's like, "Oh, by the way, there's something I must tell you about your test results." And my first thought is, really? Now? When you're all 4 inches deep inside of me? And then my second thought was, oh my god, what is it? Is it Zika virus? Is it M&S? Is it those lines of cocaine I took at the weekend? Then he says to me, "Both your blood and urine tests show moderate levels of arsenic in the system, and is almost certain that someone has been trying to poison you." And at this point I'm in a state of complete disbelief. Initially at the fact that someone was trying to poison me, but also at the fact that this chap has managed to stay erect whilst telling me all this. So I said, "Dr. Eisenhower, you dirty dog, get out of me." You know, I just didn't understand how anyone could want to poison someone as kind and generous and selfless and good-looking and slender and wealthy and modest as me. And before I even had a chance to think about who could possibly have done this to me, I heard a car leaving from the driveway, and I ran to the window and I noticed that it was Oumar's. And suddenly, everything made sense. I was woke. So immediately we called the police, and they searched for months and months on end. Couldn't find him. He disappeared off the face of the planet. You know, I did hear a rumour once that he'd fled to Nepal, where he now teaches Pilates to quadriplegic hamsters. But who knows? Anyway, that's pretty much where the story ends. Although I have actually just hired a private investigator to try and track down the fat prick. So I'll keep you updated if that leads anywhere. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, because that really helps me actually, because the more thumbs up that I get, the more likely that YouTube is to recommend the video to other people. And I feel like people need to hear this story. This is an important story, you know? And also, as always, don't forget to SUB, subscribe. And if you're lucky, superficial people, you may see me again soon. Toodles!